Louise Chen talk more about whether or not, Louise, this guidance and the prospect of more boosters for those of us over 50 mean anything for the revenue trajectory right now.
Yeah, my view is that probably doesn't for Pfizer and other vaccine makers out there, just because I think it's a smaller subset of the population, and it's probably already folded into the guidance they've given for 2022.
Is that because, I mean, there's been a long debate about maybe some argue the paucity of data that the U.S. has right now about booster efficacy. We're relying a lot on Israeli data. Do you expect more transactional friction because of that, more hesitancy?
I don't necessarily think so. I think the Israeli data has been the basis for a lot of decisions that have been made, and I think the data is good. So I don't think that that will create vaccine hesitancy. But we will see more U.S. data, specifically more so on some of these Omicron variants that the companies are working on to provide data for.
I realize that we keep getting more and more boosters approved, at least here in the U.S., Louise, and we're still sort of in flux where some of the data is concerned. But the fact that we have seen other companies start to come to market with other vaccine possibilities, are those going to, I guess, take on more weight now within the marketplace, given the fact that perhaps you only have to get 1 or 2 shots instead of maybe 4?
Yeah, I think that they will. I think over time you're going to see multivalent vaccines during cough, cold season, during flu season that will incorporate things such as PCV, the flu, as well as COVID going forward. And I think that's what these companies are working on. And that's more cost efficient and it's easier for patients going forward.
I'm looking at your coverage universe and all the names that you analyze. It looks like you have buy ratings on everything. I mean, is this sector just for sale right now?
I think that the sector is really interesting. I think what the street is missing is the innovation that's coming from the pipelines for all these different companies. And I think COVID has taught these companies a lot from a collaboration perspective and also from a perspective of being able to work efficiently to get drugs to the market to treat really important diseases in the space. So I do think a lot of these companies are undervalued, and you can't just look at the PE multiple, enterprise value to EBIT, because it doesn't fully take into account some of the wave of innovation that's coming in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, when we talk about seeing around corners, these are really, really sharp corners in public health. You're also pretty, I would argue, bullish on therapeutics and oral antivirals, which we hope are going to be a bigger part of our lives as we deal with this. But what do you think availability is going to be like, I guess, and pricing going into the second half of the year?
Yeah, I think going into the second half of the year, availability is going to be much more widespread, and we're actually going to have more data on these as well in a prophylactic population and standard risk population. So I do think they'll get more widely used. And then also during cough, cold seasons, there may be surges, as we're seeing around the world right now. But in terms of pricing, the pricing is pretty much already set. So for now, and that's pandemic pricing, but right now it's higher in higher income nations, such as the United States, about $700 per course of treatment. And then in lower income nations, it will be lower priced.